Welcome to another episode of Small Screen Cinema with Tabitha and Dad. Be prepared to cry. Tabitha, why are we going to cry?
Because today we're covering Brian's song. Yay! Yay! So Brian's song is based on the true story of Brian Piccolo and Gail Sayers and their friendship through their time together as pro football players for the Chicago Bears to the end of Brian's very short life. He passed away of cancer at 26. Gail chronicled this story in his autobiography, I Am Third. Um, Collaborating with him on that is a writer named Al Silverman, who also wrote the book that Foster and Laurie was based on. So he was really into tragic interracial bestie stories, I guess.
Okay.
Silverman passed away in 2019. William Blinn took this story and adapted it into the teleplay. William Blinn created Starsky and Hutch, so everyone say thank you and leave him some sort of offering tonight.
Thank
I
you.
suggest a goat or possibly your firstborn.
I'm going to burn a zebra 3 as my
There you
offering.
go. There you go. Blinn passed away in 2020. Gail Sayers also passed away in 2020. And do you know who he is aside from this story?
Yes,
Because from what the movie says and what I've read, he was a pretty talented player.
he was probably the best running back, and his career was cut short with injuries. And
Oh,
then right after him was a running back named Walter Payton, who you've probably heard the name at least.
yeah.
Walter Payton went on to set all kinds of records, so it kind of overshadowed Gail Sayers' short career.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah.
But he was the youngest player ever inducted into the Football Hall of Fame. So that's pretty cool. This movie was directed by Buzz Kulik. And Kulik did a lot of TV movies and miniseries. He did a miniseries of Around the World in 80 Days and one just called George Washington, probably about John Adams, I assume. He worked on TV movies like Bad Ronald. Uh,
Yes.
yeah,
Which we haven't
Crawl.
done yet.
I know, but I'm sure we will get to Bad
Oh,
Ronald.
yeah. Yeah.
Crawl Space and Pioneer Woman. He also directed several episodes of The Twilight Zone. Kulik passed away in 1999 at age 76. Oh, excuse me. This movie stars Billy D. Williams as Gale Sayers, who is, of course, best known for Lando Calrissian in Star Wars. He also played Harvey Dent in Batman 89, but he never got to do Two-Face, which is a shame. And he is still with us today. James Caan stars as Brian Piccolo. He had a huge career. He was in The Godfather, Thief, Misery, Freebie and the Bean, and of course, Elf. He starred in the mid 2000s show Las
He did
Vegas.
he did not want to be an elf, by the way.
Well, he should have. That was a great career move for
Oh,
him.
he did not like Will Ferrell. He yeah, there was friction on the set.
Mm. Yeah, but now he's on everyone's TVs every Christmas.
Yeah.
Anyway, he passed away in 2022 at 82. Next we have, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Shelley Faberes or Faberes?
Fabray.
Fabre, right, that's what I said. As Joy Piccolo, and she starred on the Donna Reed show and Coach, and we just talked about Coach a couple weeks
Coach.
ago. Yeah. Dun, 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 dun. She voiced Martha Kent in a few Justice League animated films. That's pretty cool. She had a recurring role on One Day at a Time. She was in some Elvis movies too,
Yes.
including a couple I've seen, like Clam Bake. I was like, hey, I remember that. And she, no, when I was little and I used to spend the night with my Aunt Sharon, she would pick out an Elvis movie every time I went over there. She's a huge fan, so I've seen a lot of them.
I'm
And
sorry.
She is still with us today.
Also, she had a major pop hit in the 60s with a song called Johnny Angel.
Really? I didn't know that song.
Yeah, yeah, that's her
Huh.
singing it.
I did not know that. Very interesting. And finally, Judy Pace as Linda Sayers, and she was in the horror movie Frogs. She mostly did guest work on TV like The Mod Squad, Shaft, Run for Your Life, I Dream of Jeannie, Ironside, and Good Times. And she did have a recurring role on Peyton Place, and she had one starring role on a short-lived show called The Young Lawyers. And she passed away just this year at 83.
Hmm. And Bernie
And
Casey.
side note, I do want to note that Bernie Casey is in this movie. Yes, not playing himself, but still.
Close to it. He's a retired football player and he's playing a
Interesting.
football player in this, so
Yeah. Interesting trivia. Lou Gossett Jr. was nearly cast as Gale Sayers, but he injured himself and he couldn't take the role. And he was very depressed about it and thought, well, that was my shot and I missed it. Producer David L. Wolper really liked him and promised him that the next great role that came along, he would give it to him. And that turned out to be Roots. And the rest is history.
ah. And he won an Academy Award for An Officer and a Gentleman.
He sure did.
Hmm.
Brian's song aired on ABC November 30th, 1971. On CBS, it ran against Hawaii Five-O and Caan, which is kind of funny because James Caan's son Scott starred in the Hawaii Five-O reboot for 10 years. And on NBC, it ran against local programming and the short-lived show Nichols. It was the highest rated TV movie up until that time, until it was beaten the following year by what? The Night Stalker.
Mm.
It was nominated for 11 Primetime Emmys. It won Best Outstanding Single Program, Outstanding Performance by a Supporting Actor in a Drama for Jack Warden, who I did not mention, my bad. Uh, William Blinn won Outstanding Achievement in Writing. Drama adaptation, it also won for its cinematography and its editing. Both Caan and Williams were nominated for lead actor, but neither won. Instead, a man named Keith Mitchell won for The Six Wives of Henry VIII. Don't know him.
Okay.
There was also a remake on ABC in 2001 starring Mekhi Phifer as Sayers and Sean Mayer as Piccolo. And I actually did watch that one back when it came out, but that was so long ago, I don't remember if it holds up in terms of quality. I just have like flashes of it. With all that out of the way, let's get to the movie. We open with the narrator explaining to us how different Gale Sayers and Brian Piccolo were. One black, one white, one shy, one a chatterbox, and this is the story of how they came to know each other. Um, what did I write there? This is the story of how they came to know each other and help each other. Anyway, so Gale Sayers arrives at training camp or whatever that is.
Training camp.
Um,
You did good.
Yay! uh, Brian Piccolo reintroduces himself to him and basically teases Gale for being a man of such few words. He's like, "Yeah, I met you a while ago, and I'll never forget what you said to me. You said, uh-huh." To which Gale says, "Uh-huh." And I find this so relatable.
Mm.
So he sets Gale up to embarrass himself by telling him the coach is deaf in one ear and to speak loudly and to his right side when speaking to him. So after the opening credits, Gale meets George Hollis. He asks Gale how his leg is doing since he's had an injury. Gale assures him that he's fine and he's trying to stand on the right side. He's taking Brian's advice, and they talk a lot of football. I don't know what any of it means. And George finally asks him, "Why are you bouncing around like that?" And Gale's like, "Well, I heard about the ear thing," and yeah, he quickly finds out he's been had. And that is why God struck Brian down with cancer. So let that be a lesson to everyone. Sorry.
Wow. You went dark.
I'm sorry. Later in the cafeteria, Brian takes a seat right next to Gail, and Bernie Casey, as JC, stands up and starts explaining the way things work around here to all the new people. And Brian keeps just talking to Gail so he can't pay attention. And of course, when Gail finally responds, he's the one who gets called out for it and has to pay a $25 fine. Brian is a jerk. So Hollis says something to Casey, who then gets up and he's like, it might be fair if Mr. Piccolo sang us a fight song. So he calls him out, which might be a fair punishment, but I get the sense that Brian doesn't embarrass easily.
Nah.
So he gets up, he's happy to start singing, make everyone laugh. But as he's standing, Gail dumps his mashed potatoes in his seat, and Brian sits on them, which serves him right. And Gail smugly stands up in his short shorts and walks away. um, we cut to practice, or as I like to call it, sports rehearsal. And Gail and Gail is kicking ass. And what's funny about this is James Caan had actually been a football player in high school, and Billy D. Williams was not an athlete, so Caan had to really purposely hold himself back to make Williams look faster and better than he was. Anyway, Gail leaves him in the dust during practice, and Brian jokes, I think it's working. I'm getting you overconfident. I liked that. But then that evening, Gail sees Brian practicing alone, and Brian admits that he doesn't have a lock on making the team, and Gail obviously does. So he's gotta try harder. And Gail gives him a little advice on improving. And over a montage of practice, we hear the coaches making cuts. They're unsure about Piccolo. They say he's too slow, he's too light, but he hangs in there like a terrier. So he's kind of on the edge. Gail goes into the coach's office and they explain to him that they'd like him to room with Brian Piccolo because this is 1965 and we think America can handle mixed race roommates. And all joking aside, this was apparently a very big deal. Like,
It
this hadn't been
was,
done before.
this was in the midst of the civil rights of the 60s.
Yeah,
And it's kind of funny looking back because they only did it with two people on the whole team. But that was kind of, we are progressive. We are on the
yeah.
right, we're on the side of civil rights here. So we're gonna room a black man and a white man.
Oh
Wow.
my God. Yeah. Um, and Gail's like, oh, I thought I was in trouble or something. Yeah, sure, fine. And they're like, well, you're probably gonna get flack, from people for this. But he's like, it's okay. I'm willing to do it. I'll room with him. And I do love that they asked Gail, but not Brian. They just assigned Brian. So in their new room, they check out pictures of each other's wives. Brian is bummed because he thinks he's getting cut, and Gail says, "Well, they wouldn't put you in a room with me if you were getting cut." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I guess that makes sense." So he's happy again. He cheers right up, and he's like, "Let's go call our wives." But then in the hallway, they get stopped by some players on the team, and they have to run away from their attempts at hazing. It was cute. And then we cut to a game, and Gail is doing great, and Brian is not getting any playtime. Playtime. Game time. That sounded kind of stupid. In the locker room, everyone's in a good mood. Gail is getting interviewed, and he's just so quiet and he doesn't say much. And Brian butts in, and I have to say, James Caan was incredibly hairy. Like, good Lord, man. Just, I feel like when it's all over the shoulders, you do something about that. Anyway, the reporter shifts his questioning to them about sharing a room. And then we cut to them with their wives, and they are double dating at an Italian restaurant, and they're explaining a football thing to them, and it's apparently hilarious. And then Gale tells a joke, which even his wife is amazed at. Brian starts calling him Black Magic, and Gale calls Brian Pick. And he gets a really Brian gets a really gross letter attacking him for rooming with a black man. Gale ends up winning Rookie of the Year, and he has to give a speech. He's very nervous about it. He's like looking down, freezing, forgetting what he's supposed to say. And Brian's trying to encourage him. They've worked on this speech, but eventually he just says thank you and leaves the stage. Yeah, I felt so bad for him. So the team is practicing for the upcoming season, and Brian tells Gale that his wife, Joy, is expecting their second child and jokes that they're going to name him after Gale if it's a boy. And then he calls him a slur, which I won't repeat here. I know it's like a joke, but I'm like, okay. Some people have that kind of relationship, but I'm not going to repeat that.
Well, let me address that real quick. Um, it's like Kathy's grandfather worked at the local smelting plant, and all the people that he worked with, they were all friends. They had ethnic names for each other. They just
Mm.
called, like her grandfather was German and he was Kraut. And of course, they had the Polish guy, which is now considered a slur. You don't say that word. And, the black guy, they all called him the N word.
Oh my God.
So it used to be something that it was, if you were close enough friends, it was kind of like bantering. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that's how it was. I have black
No, I
friends.
understand it wasn't meant as a hateful thing at all,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not going to say it. Yeah.
I'm in today's world. I have black friends, and there is no way. Well, I don't use that word at all. But there is no way it would even cross my mind to say that because it is so. It's got so much baggage to it that's negative, and
Yeah.
you hear African Americans use that word all the time, and people are like, "Well, they use it. Why white people say they use it? Why can't I use it?" It's different, okay?
Yeah, very
Coming
different.
in that community, it can be a term of endearment or whatever, but you can't say that to them because a white person using that in history, it has always been a put down, trying to dehumanize them. So
Yeah.
as we've marched for, I almost said advance. I don't know if we're advancing or devolving or what, but as time
Two
has went
steps forward
on,
or one step forward, two steps back.
yeah, as time has went on, that's just something that you don't say anymore. At least you shouldn't say it anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's there's a Key and Peele sketch where it's a fake advertisement for a fake app called the knee graph. And it basically it's like a color chart and it says if you can say the N-word or not, and it's hilarious. Like there's a white guy and he's like, "Nope, I want to, but can't." It says so right here. I just love that. I want to, but nope. So anyway, that evening, Gail finds out that he's starting or something. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And Brian's not, but he takes it on the chin. There's more game footage. Brian's still not really getting to play, but Gail then suffers an injury and has to be taken off the field, or as I like to call it, the grass stage. Back at home, Gail is not coping well with being hurt and out of the game, and he brushes off his wife's attempts to help him, and she tells him, it's good to have you home. And in the blandest voice I've ever heard, he's like, yeah, it's good to be home. I'm like, jeez, poor Linda. So she's like, hey, I'm gonna go pick up the kids and get away from this for a while. So she leaves. Gail thinks he's got the house to himself, but it turns out Brian is there in his basement. He is there to help him get back into shape. He shows him some tough love, and it's a nice scene and it's a nice gesture. It's being a good friend. And he gives a nice speech about how when he was in high school, he wasn't the best. He was just one of the best. But he worked his tail off, and then when he gets picked for the Bears, Gale comes along and he's still not the best because, Gale's better than him. But he is number one now with Gale out of the game, but he doesn't want to be number one because he's hurt. He doesn't want a lucky break. He wants to beat him when he's at his best. And I just really liked that. I thought that was nice. So he starts helping him. They start I guess exercising, physical therapy stuff together to get his leg back into shape. Gail's listening to games over the radio. Brian's doing really well, and this just motivates him to work harder. It's a healthy competition. This really reminded me of a lot of stories I've heard about Lennon and McCartney and why they were such a good writing team because they were competitive. Like if one came up with something really great, that would push the other to work harder. Like that happened even after they broke up. Like Lennon took that 5 year break from music, and then one day he heard Paul on the radio and was like, "Hey, I don't like that." So he went back to the studio and made another album. So back in the basement, Brian is helping Gail with exercises, and they start calling each other slurs again. They're both cracking up, and Linda's just like, "I don't want to be here for this." Uh, Gail's getting better. They're jogging together, and Gail says, "Thanks for helping out," but in like that guy way. And then he gets back to training with the team. Coach Hollis goes to see the guys in their room, and he's got good news. He makes Brian number one fullback. What does a fullback do?
Okay. Both Gail and Brian are running backs. Okay. They run with the football. In football, I'm going to simplify this. If you're running a certain offense, one of the running backs is a halfback or a tailback, either word, and then the other one's a fullback. Basically, in that formation, the fullback does a lot of blocking for the halfback. So,
Okay.
but also like on a short yardage situation where, maybe you just need another half yard for a first down, oftentimes you'll give it to a fullback because they're kind of a more of a tougher, hard-nosed runner, whereas Gale was more of an evasive runner, I guess you can say. So,
Okay. Um, Brian is so surprised and thrilled with this news that he can't even speak, and Gail jokes to the coach that, hey, he finally found a way to shut him up. So there's more footage of the games, and they're both doing really well this season. Um, then we cut to the locker room, and the guys are weighing in, and Brian is losing weight. He is, according to the coach, he is 10 pounds lighter and half a second slower. His plane is starting to suffer, and of course, no one knows why at the moment. They're just like, "Are you out of shape? You got some kind of flu, or what's going on?" And as I said, he was very young. He was in his mid 20s when he died. During a game, Brian is struggling very badly. He can't stop coughing. He says there must be too much pollen in the air. He powers through, and after the game, Gail is in that tub thing that helps your muscles for athletes. And Coach Hollis comes in and tells him that he's gonna send Brian back home. He's not well. He says the best players play, and Brian's not the best right now. And he says, I don't know what's wrong with him. Something obviously is. He needs to get it figured out. So back in the hotel room, Ryan is packing to go home, and he is understandably not happy about being sent away. He's still coughing. He did see the team doctor who examined him, and he told him it wasn't allergies, but it could be one of 1,000 other things. So it's like, great, thanks. That's not super helpful. Um, and then Brian hits me with the funniest line in the movie. He says very seriously, "Doesn't matter. I know exactly what's wrong with me." And Gail's like, "Oh my God, what?" And he goes, "I'm pregnant." That cracked me up. So sometime later, Brian goes home. The season continues with Gail, and the coaches call Gail in. They inform him that Brian has cancer, and they're going to do an operation on him the next morning to remove a part of his right lung. And the doctors don't know if they've gotten to this in time, but this is all they can do right now. They don't go into specifics in the movie, but Brian had an embryonal cell carcinoma, which is an aggressive form of germ cell testicular cancer. And I guess it is something that was dormant in him his whole life, and they don't know what activated it. Because still people don't really know why cancer happens outside of specific things. So by the time they did catch it, it had metastasized to his lungs. And unfortunately, they never could stop it from spreading to other organs. Gail volunteers to inform the rest of the team, and we know this is a big deal because Gail is not big on public speaking. And I was thinking maybe we do this after the game, but apparently not. The coach gathers everyone around in the locker room, and Gail says we all give out a game ball to outstanding player, and he wants to change that. Brian is very sick. Even if he lives, he will probably never play football again. So he thinks they should dedicate themselves to winning the game and give the game ball to Brian, and they'll all sign it and take it to the hospital. And the team takes this pretty hard. But then the next scene is funny. Gail and the players, the rest of the team, go to see Brian in the hospital, and much to Brian's amusement, they lost that game that they dedicated to him. That is funny, I have to admit. It's like, wow, thanks, you guys. Brian is in a positive mood, or at least he's putting on a good front in front of, his guy friends. Nurse comes in, kicks everybody out, and once he's alone, his smile does drop.
Yeah, and at this point he's talking as if he's going to be playing again. And football is such a physically demanding sport. You can't have a portion of your lung removed and you maintain the oxygen level in your blood to play at that level for a 3 hour football game. But then again, who's going to be the person to tell him that? You know?
Yeah. And I mean, even the healthiest football players don't have like super long careers because it's so hard on you,
Yeah,
you know?
running backs usually only play. I think the lifespan of a running back, now this is average, is like 2.5 years. There are some that if you run for 8 or 9 years, that's a long career for a running back.
Hmm.
But it's so punishing. Um, you have the football, and there's 11 other guys, some of whom weigh well over 300 pounds, trying to take you down. So
Yeah.
it's a very, very physically demanding position.
Yeah, that would be the one sport where if my kid was like wanted to play sports, I'd be like, "Kid, anything but football. I
Yeah,
just don't want you to get hurt."
I played football for 4 years in high school, and I was a running back. And I still have back issues, and I can trace it back to a game my sophomore year where a linebacker hit me in the back, and I've had back issues ever since. I can't bend over very well, and of course now I'm almost 60, so I'm just old, but I always had those issues. And it's very difficult to finish your football career at no matter what level without having some sort of an issue physically when you've been a running back.
Hmm.
It's just physically demanding.
Have you thought about tracking that guy down and suing him?
Yes. I don't know his name. I remember we were playing Mascuda, and it was a linebacker, and I ran through the line and I got stood up because I hit a brick wall, and this guy probably from around the end just come by and just hit me in the back. And I never complained, because if you complained when I played football, they had words for you. that started with a P and ended with a Y and is what Trump wanted to grab. I mean, you were not manly if you admitted to being hurt. And so when I played, this is why I got to a point where I didn't care anymore. I was hurt. I didn't want to play. I had no desire to play, but it was expected I played, so I still played. Um, but whenever I had kids, there was no way I was going to let them play football because I played at 160 pounds in high school. And if you had a lineman at that time that weighed 220, 230 pounds, that was a pretty big lineman. And now in high schools, you have linemen that are 300, 320 pounds and they're roided up. And,
Yeah.
like Max probably graduated high school at 150 pounds. There was no way I was going to say, you need to play football, son, be a man. They'd been snapped like a toothpick. So,
Yeah. Yeah, he would have. And like every year I hear that either at a high school level or even a professional level, oh, yeah, a player died preseason during practice, heat stroke or something insane like that. And I'm like, oh my God, that's just not worth it. Like, I know I'm not a sports person, but I'm like, this is just a game. You please put your health first. Whatever.
yeah, your superintendent was my football coach.
No kidding.
Yep. Greg Moats was my football coach my sophomore, junior, and senior year. And
Is that why he came to me and said, hey, you're Pussy's daughter?
it was funny because when we went to your high school graduation, me and Dad were sitting in the bleachers. And when he got up to do the speech before he gave out the diplomas, I said, "You recognize him?" Dad said, "No." I said, "That was my football coach for 3 years in high school." And Dad was like, "Oh my gosh, you're right." There he is.
That's crazy. That's pretty funny, actually. Um, anyway, so Gail and Joy, that's Brian's wife, they go down to look for a little girl who Brian had met who wanted Gail's autograph. And the nurse unfortunately has to tell them that that child passed away that morning. It's really sad.
Yeah.
Um, so we get more game footage, and Gail is still crushing it. Brian can only read about it. He's still in the hospital, and he has a conversation with Joy, and he says that next season he'll have a hard time getting in the starting lineup, and so maybe he'll be a kicker next season. And
Which was
as you
funny.
were saying, oh, it was funny.
Yeah, yeah, you can't just decide suddenly I'm going to become a kicker.
Oh,
These guys have worked 4 years at kicking through high
yeah.
school and everything else. So,
And yeah, as you were saying, or back to your point, I wrote, I wonder if he really believes this or if he's just trying to keep himself motivated. I
yeah.
wasn't sure.
My aunt had terminal cancer and she passed away in the mid 80s. Um, and I mean, she had lung cancer and it was aggressive. And we visited her quite a bit. She was very close to us, me and my sisters. And I remember once she was talking, and I mean, at this time, she's sleeping 20 hours a day. She's sleeping on the couch. We'd go visit her. She'd just fall asleep. We'd say, "That's okay, fall asleep." But at one point, she was talking about somebody. She said, "Yeah, she has cancer, but hers is terminal." And it was like, she, yeah, I don't know if she thought that she was going to whip it. I mean, she was pretty bad then, or if that was just a way to kind of keep her motivated. But yeah,
Yeah.
we all saw that this was not heading in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm. Um, anyway, Joy tells Brian that she's scared, and then Brian says, oh, I'm not an idiot. I know it's bad, but it's just a detour and I won't let it stop me. I've got too much to do. And it's just a really sad scene. Brian and Gail keep in touch over the phone. Um, he asks Gail to call Joy for him because she's feeling really, really down at the moment. Gail says he will, but before he can, she actually gets in touch with him. So Gail and Linda go over to the Piccolo house in the middle of the night, and Joyce says the doctor spoke to her. They found more tumors in him. They're going to have to operate again. She hasn't told Brian. She doesn't know if he can take the disappointment. Is this, I thought this was just a thing they did to women back in the day. Oh, we'll just tell your husband. The woman doesn't need to know. She'll just get hysterical. But do they really just tell your spouse and not you, the patient?
I think they have to tell the patient now.
Right?
I don't think they can keep information from a patient because of stuff like this. Um, I know that, um, like for instance, whenever I had my heart issues, they asked, do you want your wife here for the information? Yeah. And so, I mean, I wasn't serious. I wasn't like I was going to die or anything, but they did say, we're going to tell you exactly what's going on. Do you want your wife here?
Yeah.
I said, which wife? I'm on my third one. I said,
Probably the
yes.
one in the waiting room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So go
Um,
ahead.
so anyway, the doctor's going to tell him the next morning, and she asks Gail if he could be there with him when he gets the information. So he says he'll be there. So the next morning, Brian and Gail are in the hospital room and they're playing like tabletop football or something,
Yeah.
like fantasy football before there were computers. I don't know. So an administrator comes in who obviously got his schedule wrong or something and asks for Brian's consent, his signature. And he's like, "For what?" And that's when he realized, "Oh, you haven't been told you're getting another surgery." So now it falls to poor Gail to break this news to him. This is a shitty hospital doing a shitty job. Um, so Brian is understandably upset, and the guy's like, "Yeah, I still need your signature." And Brian's like, "Fuck off." And Gail takes the man aside and kindly asks him, "Could you just maybe go away for a while and let him wrap his head around this?" So the guy leaves. Brian thanks Gail for getting rid of him, and then they just go back to their game. I mean, I guess what can you say?
Yeah.
Um, and we cut to an operating room. It's from Brian's point of view as he's being put to sleep, which he said was a bad choice of words when the doctor said that. And then we see Gail. He's winning another award. He's winning the most courageous player award. And when he goes to make his speech, he talks about Brian, about how brave Brian is and how proud he is of him. He says Brian deserves the award more than he does. It, very reminiscent of something for Joey. He says, quote, and I remember this from the 2001 one. It's the same speech. "I love Brian Piccolo. I'd like all of you to love him too. And tonight, when you hit your knees, please ask God to love him." And then I teared up. I'm like, oh my God, that's that's so sad. Uh, so we're getting near the end here. Brian is very weak. Joy is holding the phone to his ear so he can talk to Gail. Um, he finds out that Gail donated a pint of blood to him, and then he makes another racist joke, and I'm like, please stop that. And Gail tells Brian he'll come visit him at the hospital tomorrow. But Linda takes the phone. She says, "You better get here tonight." So Gail comes. He calls Brian a racist and a bigot, and Brian says, "You'd better believe it, man." And James Caan is giving a really good performance here. Um, they're holding hands, and Brian's just kind of mumbling. He asks Gail if he remembers when he got him with the mashed potatoes. Gail remembers and asserts that he deserved it. And Brian says next training camp he's gonna get him. And Gail says he'll be waiting. Brian says he's not feeling so well. He's gonna try and sleep for a while. And Gail says, "Okay, I'll see you tomorrow." And he steps away and he hugs Joy and Linda. And Joy goes back over to Brian. She hugs him, says she loves him. And Brian says, "Who'd believe it, Joy? Who'd ever believe it?" It's really sad. And then the narrator comes back in and tells us that Brian Piccolo died at 26, leaving his wife and three daughters. And I'm like, that's a lot of kids by 26. And when his friends think of him, they think of how he lived, not how he died. And then I teared up again. The end.
Okay, Tabitha, did I see the original airing of this at the age of 5? Did I see a rebroadcast of this, or was this the first time I saw this?
You saw a rebroadcast.
I did. I saw a rebroadcast of it when I was, oh, probably in my early 20s. It finally came on TV and I watched it for the first time. Do you give this a classic or a trash it?
Oh, it's a classic. Of course it
It is a
is.
classic. And I'm not trying to be hyperbolic here, but this is the perfect TV movie. It's got great performances. And I would venture to say this is James Caan's best performance. He's not a he's not a mobster like The Godfather. Um, he's not like the tough athlete, like in Rollerball. He's a genuine human being in this. And James Caan wasn't known to be like this happy, jovial person. And he plays a very happy, outgoing, loose, enjoy life type person. He plays him to a T. In
Hmm.
contrast to that, Billy D. Williams, I thought did a fantastic job too. Very shy, very much I let my work do my talking type person. And because this he had times where he was thrust into situations which he wasn't comfortable with because
Hmm.
that wasn't his personality. If it would have been the other way around, Brian Piccolo probably would have been a lot more comfortable in that role than Gail Sayers was, being the person who, the the comfort.
Yeah.
But I thought it's the perfect TV movie. It's a short movie and they don't waste anything. Every scene matters and it builds to the ending, which is very sad. And so there's a reason why this is such a fantastically popular film. Um, and I don't know who did the put the cast together, but they did a great job.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Lou Gossett Jr., who was a great actor, I don't know if he could have pulled it off like Billy D. Williams did, because Billy D. Williams was so subdued and so shy, socially awkward and unsure of himself. And he's thrust into this world where he's probably never had a whole lot of white close friends. And here you've got this guy who's got this personality that is huge. And it probably helped him relax in social settings because even though he was a star, he didn't have to carry anything because you had Brian, who was always going to be chatty and talky and everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm gonna say this. I love these kind of movies because it's a love story. A love story doesn't have to be between men and women.
It doesn't
It
have to be
does
romance.
it doesn't have to be romance at all, but
Yeah.
this is a love story. These two men genuinely love each other. Um, and that comes through in this movie. So I think it is just about the perfect TV movie as far as a drama goes that I don't think it's ever going to be topped as far as a
Hmm.
TV movie goes.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's
So
a
I'm giving it a trash it. No, I'm
no,
giving it a
it's a very good movie. The performances really are great. Billy D. Williams is great because again, he's, you know, best known for playing this very s suave, outgoing, swaggering space pirate, you know? So seeing him like this is definitely definitely shows his range, the range that he had.
yeah, yeah. So and I thought that Jack Warden did a great job as the coach.
Yes. Hmm.
And so the wives are okay, but they
There's not
really,
much of
yeah,
them.
there's not much there for them to do, except for, the scene where at the end where his wife is very upset and everything.
Yeah,
Um,
compare that to Foster and Lori. The wives had more to do in that
yeah,
one.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So love the
Hmm.
movie. I will always love the movie. And I enjoyed the cry too. I cry every time I see it. So
Aw. That and what's the other one you guys cry at?
Field of Dreams.
Yeah, yeah. It's like what's the man crying movie? Yeah, Field of Dreams.
Yeah. I always say Field of Dreams is beaches for men. That's what it is.
There's a bit on an episode of Frasier. Their dad used to be a cop, and he had this falling out with an old partner, and they're like, "Well, what happened between you guys?" He goes, "He told all the guys at the station that I cried during Field of Dreams." And Frasier's like, "Oh my God, that's always the thing you think happens to other people's fathers, but not yours." That's so good.
Oh, oh my gosh. Yeah. So, well, next week,
2 weeks. 2 weeks. I'm pretty busy next weekend.
okay, next week we won't be here, but in
Yes.
2 weeks we're going to do the Peter Graves classic, the one every Emmy just swept all the awards, and that's why Peter Graves has a 800-foot statue in the middle of the woods. We're going to watch Scream of the Wolf.
Oh, a lot of wolf movies.
And they all
Okay.
have about the same title, it seems like.
Right? I'm like, wait, didn't we do that? No, that was Moon of the Wolf. Okay, now
Yeah.
we're doing Scream of the Wolf.
And
Gotcha.
we've also done Howl in the Woods. Yes.
Yep, yep.
Farmer in the Dell. We'll get to that one, I guess. So, all
Too bad
right.
we can't do Warwolf.
Whoa. Wait for it. Wait for it. He thinks he's a werewolf.
Paul, you was a werewolf.
This this party's incredible. Have you ever watched it? Just the movie?
Oh God, no.
Oh, I
No.
have.
Really?
It's funny just to watch it as a movie too. So,
Uh, you
but
was a
yeah,
jerk.
Scream of the Wolf with Peter Graves. Um, and Peter Graves had a really interesting career, uh, and had a career renaissance in 1980 with the movie Airplane.
Hell
So
yeah.
great. So, all right, we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Bye bye.